Welcome to 1+1. I'm Courtney Act. Today I am chatting to Aweng Chuol, an international model who has strutted the catwalks of New York, London, Paris. But her career began right here in Western Sydney. And today we're going to chat about her early life growing up in Africa, coming out, and her desire to forge her own path. Aweng Chuol, welcome to 1+1.
Thank you, Courtney.
Oh, it's lovely to have you here.
You said my name so correctly.
Oh, thank
Aweng
you.
Chuol.
Thank you. You have walked for Fenty, you've done campaigns for Balmain and Ralph Lauren, you've even worked for Queen Bee in Black is King.
Yes.
But your global modelling career began right here in Sydney.
In Lidcombe, precisely.
In Lidcombe.
Yep, Western Sydney.
How did it begin?
I got scouted at, I was 18, I believe, 18, 19. I was working at Lidcombe McDonald's and somebody came through and said, I can get you to Paris if you want to go to Paris.
Were you like,
but the thing is, I've always wanted to join this industry. That's the thing. I've always wanted to join entertainment, period.
Right.
So as a kid, I was like, at all the auditions, I wanted to be an actress. I was convinced I'm going to win an Oscar by a certain age. I was like, by 25, I'll have my Oscar. Trust me. And then
You still got time.
We got 3 years.
We
got it. I don't know what can happen in 3 years. We don't. But I've always been approached by people like, do you want to be an actress? Do you have aspirations to be a model? I've always had it as a kid. I just never paid attention to it because I'm just like, I'm from Western Sydney. I'm from Lidcombe. Like
What was it about that person that made you say yes?
I think it was just like, they looked at me and they said, your face will look amazing in Paris. And I'm like, I would love for my face to look amazing in Paris. Let's go. So then I got my passport and got my papers ready, ended up in Paris and walked an exclusive for Vetements.
How long from Macca's to Paris?
I think it was like within a few weeks. I remember I was gonna miss the post office. So I was sprinting to the post office.
For the passport.
And my passport photo is like, you can see like your sweat drooling. Because I'm like, I'm not missing this passport. And it was a huge deal. I was like, let me make it happen. It's here right now, let me make it happen. And it was, got to Paris.
So I can imagine you now, obviously, on a catwalk. But then, what was that like to all of a sudden be in a Vetements show?
I didn't even know what time difference was from Sydney in Paris. So I arrived and I'm like, this thing jet lag hit me and I was like sleeping. We did a fitting and it was like, okay, go rest, come back for dinner, all of this. And I literally missed dinner that night because I was so exhausted. I didn't understand why I was so tired. Because the last time I flew was from Kenya to Australia. So for me, I was so young. I don't know if I even experienced jet lag from fighting it. But it was just surreal to be in the middle of Paris, people speaking French. I was like, wow, that's crazy. But it was good. I loved it. I love traveling, I realized.
Not to be reductive, but like even the idea of like walking in heels on a runway, is that terrifying?
Oh, not anymore. Not anymore. Because now you have to just get to it, you know? But then, wow. I didn't even know how I survived my first runway walk, honestly, because I was just anxiety. Like there's people in front of me, there's people behind you. So you can't be too fast, you can't be too slow. So you just gotta go at the pace everyone's going. But then there's people with phones out, people staring, people looking for the look. So they're watching you for the detailed look. And it's like, as a model, you're thinking, oh, they're looking at me. No, they're looking at the outfit. So walk it properly. And I'm just sitting there like,
show the garment, work the garment.
I had 2 looks, I remember that. And I was like, wow. Okay, that's amazing, but wow.
Before I go on stage to perform, I usually like stop. I try and have a little private moment where I take at least 8 deep breaths. That's what my mum taught me. 8 deep breaths. And then I do this like thing where I'm like, what if when I go out there, everything goes really well? And then I try and like imagine the feeling of everything going well and the audience loving it. I love that headspace because for me, I did not have that headspace. I was like, there are people on that
way. There are people in the audience that might sign you at the end of the night. There are agencies watching this show. There's everyone, the whole world is watching, by the way. So my head, I now have a ritual. But back then when I first started, what? No, let me just survive this walk. That's it.
Well, you obviously survived and then you thrived because you got signed to agencies all around the world from that night,
Exactly,
right?
from that night. I got signed, I think, all 5 fashion cities that night. Yeah.
And you said the first time you'd been on a plane was when you came from Kenya to Australia.
Yes.
You were born in Kenya.
I was born in Kakuma, a refugee camp in the north of Kenya. Yes.
And your family's from South Sudan?
South Sudanese, yes. And then we flew from Kenya to Australia in 2006. So I was like 7.5, maybe 8. Yeah.
What do you remember about being in Kenya?
Kakuma, it was a camp. It was a refugee camp. It saved me. It saved us. It gave us a home. It gave us a place to call our own until we could, I guess, fend for something more and aspire for something more. I just feel like, I don't know, I have a really weird relationship with being brought up in Kakuma. I felt like it saved me. Was it necessarily a place I should have been as a kid? No. Should anybody ever be a refugee? No. Yeah. But, you know, it gave me refuge. I survived with what I could and what we could, and that's just it.
Because the alternative of staying in South Sudan was not a reality.
The alternative, it wasn't a reality. And I just feel like you can sit back and say, I wish I grew up in my home, where I'm from and everything, but it wasn't necessarily a safe place to grow up then. So we grew up with what we could and what we had, and I don't know, I just feel like I always think of Kakuma and it's always good. It saved me. It saved Mom. It saved the kids. It saved us. So we're good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And like, can you describe like what in the camp? Like, what does that look like?
So there's different groups. There's different groups. I feel like a lot of people don't have. The thing is, it's like when you talk to people that grew up in Kakuma, there's different groups.
Okay.
Like it's like compounds, different compounds, and you grew up in probably like 5 different families. Grew up together, then there's a tree in the middle. It was a very communal kind of place. Yeah, I mean, I was 7, 6, 5, 4. I was born there. Yeah. So for me, it was home. You couldn't say much about it, to be honest.
And your mum was quite young when she had you?
Yeah, my mother had me at 13.5, 14.
Wow.
Yeah, before 15 for sure.
And
I'm the firstborn of 12 siblings.
12 siblings.
Yes.
So I guess in a way, when you think, like, your mum is only 13 years older than you.
My mother she just turned 36 last week.
Okay.
Yeah, so 35 last week, actually.
And so it's mum, dad, you, and then siblings coming along.
Yeah, dad stayed. He was a soldier, so he felt like he needed to stay, so he stayed. We didn't come as people who didn't have people here already. We came and we already had grandfather and grandmother here, so we had people to guide us and like show us around. The culture shock, oh my God. I got suspended my first week at Barella Public School. I went to the cubicle, but I didn't know, like, you have to close your own door. I thought you closed the whole door of the whole bathroom. So the little girls were coming in and everything. I'm like, get out. I'm like in the bathroom. Like, can you not see that? Then they came and they had a translator come to me and tell me, like, you have to close your own door, and that's just how it works. But the culture shock was just, it was mind-blowing.
And you didn't speak English when you got here?
English. I think we spoke like 4 other languages, but English.
Wow.
Yeah, we spoke Swahili, Dinka, I think Arabic. We spoke other languages, but not English. And it was just so hard to like, we landed, we were at the age where you should start school now, like get up to school now. So my grandfather was basically, we landed and he was pressured to get us to school ASAP. And he's like, that's the only way they will learn is by going into school. And we went to school, and then there was nobody that looked like us, spoke our language. It was just we were always together. Me and my siblings, me and my cousins were always just together because no one else gonna understand us. We don't understand everyone else, so let's just stay cooped. I feel like we downplayed it a lot when we grew up, we got older. We're just like, oh, remember when we first came from across the world and had to learn a whole new culture? Yeah. That's not scary, but it was actually very scary thinking about it now.
Because there's so many like compounding things there. There's like, you'd never seen like
I've never seen a train. We've seen cars, but I've never seen trains and like
white people.
No, either. Never. I hadn't personally. Yeah. So it was just like we landed, and at the airport, there's just people. And I'm like, wow, there's that many humans in the world. That's the thing. You grew up in a communal place. You think it stops somewhere. You know, the people stop somewhere, but it didn't. It was just like, okay, we leave for the airport. They're not following us. Those are not the same people that are going to the trains. They're not. It was just like, wow.
And so You've arrived in Australia, you're in primary school.
Oh my God.
I imagine that there weren't many other people of colour.
No.
Or if they were, they weren't dark-skinned people in your school.
There weren't any South Sudanese. We were the only South Sudanese kids for a while. Wow. And then a few families started arriving. So we had people now. But even in high school, I had so much anxiety because it was literally 7 African girls from grade 7 to grade 12, and then a lot of them graduated before I even got to 12. So it was just like, if you're gonna like talk to people, you're gonna have to be somebody who's outspoken. Like you have to be an extrovert. That's just it. I was very introverted when I first came, and I had to change that because you couldn't be, if you're the only person in the room that looked like you. Like you couldn't just keep to yourself. I just felt like that wasn't gonna help me in any way.
And did you find Australia to be a racist place?
I think I was oblivious to the blatant racism that could occur to me as a black female walking around Australia for a very long time. I think I hit till 10th grade completely oblivious, completely. I was like, oh, there's no such thing as racism in Australia. Australia's cool. Like, we like kangaroos and koalas. How could we be like, that's how I thought. So, it wasn't ignorance, but it was like no one had ever came to me and said, you're black, go back to where you come from, or this and this and this. It was never that. Like, I watched the TV shows that showed that, but I never personally experienced it or heard people around me experience it at all. I think I was like 11th grade when I first, I guess, was a part of a circle that dealt with racism, and it was the language barrier. So I went to a store with my grandmother, and she was trying to say a word, but she couldn't. It was a hard word, because even me, I was like 11, and I was 17, maybe 17. And I was like, okay, I'll say it for her. I can like wait for me, so I'm doing something here, I'm gonna come forward. And he was just like, if you don't speak English, why are you in here? To her. And that's when I was like, oh, so we're here. So this is what we do now. Like it became a thing of like, this is what reality is for the race issues we have in this country. This is what it looks like. And then I guess from that moment, I started seeing it.
And then on from there, were there more experiences?
Yeah, there were more, because now I think the experiences were happening already.
Yeah,
I wasn't.
You became more aware of them.
It's just they were now more prevalent because I'm actually aware of what it looks like. I'm actually aware of the passive aggressiveness, the microaggressions. I'm aware now. I know what they look like, and I'm like, oh, so they've been here the whole time. And I couldn't see it because I just never thought it'd be a thing. So.
I think I understand that in a way on obviously a very different level. I understand that as a queer kid in high school, and I guess I'm interested as well because you identify as lesbian, right?
Yeah, I'm pansexual.
Pansexual.
Yes.
Same.
Yay!
Being like a queer kid in high school and being a black kid in high school.
Wow.
Were you aware of your sexuality then?
Let me tell you, the day I realized I was a queer, I was in 10th grade, and we had some students come. I cannot remember the high school for the life of me, but I must go back and say hi. So we had a high school dinner. I get asked, do you like girls? And I'm sitting there like, I never thought about it because it just,
wasn't an
where
option.
I grew up, it wasn't an option. The thought wasn't an option. So imagine the action. It wasn't an option. So for me, I was like, I kissed a girl when I was younger. Yeah. What did you think about it? I'm like, I never thought about it. And I went to a predominantly Muslim school, Open Girls High School. So for me, it was already out of mine in 3 different societies that I'm a part of. Sudanese community, a girls' school, all girls' school, 1, 2, and predominantly Muslim school. So for me, I was like, no, we don't have any LGBT activities. We don't have conversation about LGBT at all. It was just like that conversation alone sparked me wanting to find out what is my sexuality. I knew I couldn't say I only liked assigned males or I only liked people who identified as men. I couldn't sit and say it with my chest. So I was like, oh, I like people, I guess.
So, like, you start to become aware of sexuality around grade 11?
Gender, grade 10. Gender, I'm bombarded with new information.
And I'm
like soaking
fascinated
it up.
by it.
I'm so curious. I'm at Auburn Library.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
On my computer, searching what the acronyms for LGBT. What does it really mean? What's the history of LGBT activism? People that help change the world, shape the world, that are part of the LGBT. I'm doing a full PowerPoint research on who I could be and what community I'm a part of. And it was intense. It was intense. I think I spent 2 months like just reading books, documentaries, watching movies, like talking to people that identified as a part of the LGBT community or identified within the LGBT community, just curious. And then I said, I'm gonna come out.
So how old was that? How old were you then?
I mean, I feel like everyone already knew. Yeah. The thing is, my mother she had an idea. Okay. Obviously, I kissed a girl when I was younger, but it wasn't anything people ever thought was gonna be anything. And I started dating at 7. When I found out, I started dating a female, identifying female, and people found out in my community, but it wasn't. They didn't think it was like they thought I was going through a phase. You know. I was like, no, for real. Like, I'm going to tell my friends, family, all of that. And when I go back now and think about it, I'm like, I was really scared. And I'm like, why was I so scared? Why was I put in a place that I feared coming and saying, I like people? I don't think of gender. Yes.
And then mom's reaction?
Mom's reaction, it was calm. My mother was calm. My mother was like, I don't understand it. That's the thing. She didn't understand it because no one spoke about it.
She hadn't spent too much in the library researching it like you had.
For my mother's generation, you can't even think it. Thinking it is a problem. So I don't know what reaction I was expecting. But my mother was like, you happy? You good? You great? Who you gonna tell to next? I could prepare you for them. It was a thing. She helped me kind of go to my grandparents or go to my aunties or sit down with the uncles and say
And having that support must have been such a wonderful thing.
Wonderful. I was like, I felt blessed. I was like, this could have went left. I mean, when I got married, that's when I feel like the real reaction happened. I think my community registering me having a girlfriend to me marrying a woman, 2 different reactions. A girlfriend was like, it's cute, a little phase, a little nothing too serious. But the reaction to the marriage, I think, is the reaction that younger me feared. That was the reaction I was expecting. And when I didn't get as a person that was younger, it was like, okay, cool, then I'm cool, I'm safe, I'm great. Let me move forward now with my life. But when I got married, ended up in Spain for a shoot at the Bees campaign. I'm shooting, and the internet's going crazy. The internet just found out Aweng married a woman, and not even just the internet, Sudan found out, Kenya found out. It was a mess. I could never repeat the words because the kids at home are watching this and they hear the words that were said. It literally, I didn't regret my decision. I didn't regret being part of it, but I was so sad. I was just sad, and I don't know what I was sad about, but I remember just it sending me into the worst mental space, like the worst mental space. I was like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Like, I didn't hurt you guys. I didn't say anything to you. Nothing.
What about support? Was there any support around you at that time?
There were, but it was just mounted and drained out by just the negativity. I couldn't even see the positive. I couldn't even see the good at all.
Were there any queer Sudanese people that reached out?
People, a lot of young kids. And I was like, okay, cool. This is worth it. I can fight these people. Like, I can argue all day. Let's go. A lot of the articles and conversations that people in my community were having were basically very much like, they're gonna be done within a few months.
Right.
She's gonna get exhausted by the harassment that she's going to say that she's not into women. Like, they were trying to exhaust me, if that makes sense. And I was like, that's so, like, you can't exhaust myself out of me. That doesn't work. Like, they didn't, I guess, again, that we were not taught LGBT was really, or what it means to be an LGBT. So for them, they thought it was, I woke up and one day decided, that's what they thought. Like, take it off. You can take it off. We're harassing you. Take it off. Yeah. And I was sitting there, and I was just like, that's not how it works. One, and if that's how it did work, I'm not, and that's just it. And it was frustrating for them that I was standing, my foot was down. My foot was not moving.
And did that lead to your decision to do the Elle cover shoot with your wife?
No, that was just me being Aweng. I'm a simp. I'm a lover. I just love. That's it. And then we were in conversations because I had an attempt last year.
The suicide attempt?
Yes, so I had a suicide attempt during the whole shenanigans.
As a result of what you're experiencing?
I don't want to say it was that alone. I just feel like I was already burning myself out by just life and a lot of things. And I was, I was just exhausted by a lot. And I felt like that was the pinnacle, though. Yeah. That was definitely a big role. Like, grown people, 60-year-olds calling a child to tell her, like, why would you do this? What's the point of living? Like, it was one of those things where it's like, harassment wasn't just harassment. It was like another level. Yeah. Elle UK, I had released a statement online and saying, like, I really almost died a few weeks ago. I'm here. Thank God we're moving forward. I'm trying to, work on myself. That's what I did. And Elle UK, we did an interview, and then they reached out for a cover, and I was just like, can I have my wife with me? I was so excited. I remember typing on the keyboard, just like geeking. And now when that came out too,
More.
It was like, this girl keeps putting ice on the cake over and over. She's not getting tired. No regrets. You live and you live, and that's just it. And I just feel like if you're gonna live, you're gonna live, and that's just love. I don't know.
If you'd go back to Aweng before the attempt, what would you tell her?
Your life is worth more than people's words, and that's just it. And I felt like I wanted to convince myself and tell myself that your life is worth more than words. But words do hurt, and that's what I realized. And I didn't register that idea that words hurt until that moment where I'm getting 3,000 messages every hour of people, and it's not even one positive.
We have this idea of like, I don't care what people think about me, this is me, but then when you're faced with that
when
wall,
you're faced alone, when you're facing it on that wall alone, and only you can scroll and choose when to stop scrolling, and you never stop scrolling. I don't know, I think it's like a thing, an addiction of, well, they're already hurting me, let me go deeper. Like, that's how I felt. I spent days scrolling through hate messages, homophobic messages, death threats, don't come back home, if you enter this country, like all of these things. And then when I stopped, and I was like, I'm never looking at somebody telling me that they don't like, and that's your business, not my business. Why did you stop? I feel like I just got to a point of just being exhausted. And obviously I still got negativity and everything like that, but I'm not concentrating on it. I'm not concentrating on it because I'm happy, I'm good. Are you good? That's just it. Because only somebody who's not good is gonna come, and that's all I gotta say, so yeah. And do you recognize that your visibility as a queer woman, as a dark-skinned person, changes those opinions? Now I realize that, yeah. Wow. But there is also that thing, I guess, of like visibility without support isn't visibility, it's a trap. And the thing is, what I always say is, you don't wanna be, I don't know personally, you don't wanna be the first in certain things. Because I didn't know, I look up to these amazing people, James Baldwin, Nikki Giovanni, all these amazing people that were the first of whatever, and just successful, and change makers. And as a kid, you're like, I'm gonna be a change maker. I'm gonna change people's lives. And then you go through that heavy process of being one of the first, if not the first, South Sudanese woman to be visibly. Like, there were no denying, you have an Elle UK cover, honey. Yeah. You're kissing your wife on the cover of Elle UK. Ralph Lauren, you have a whole campaign. Yeah. Right, cool. There's a billboard of you and your wife holding hands in the middle worldwide. You sat down and interview for 15 minutes, and you guys are glistening on how love is. There's nothing, that's visibility right there. Yeah. And for me, I didn't process how people would take that in my community. And that's when I could debunk the first lesbian Sudanese community. And I'm like the first out-closeted one, because you guys have locked the chains on everyone else's closet. So, everyone is fearful. And it was a lot of heavy weight to carry. It just felt like there's just so much pressure. But I was okay with it if younger kids will be okay with it one day, you know? Like if young kids could sit down and say, well, I looked at this Aweng and her wife and I finally got confirmed that I can do that and I can beat that. I guess there's a lot of positivity in being visible.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Oh, and so now you're back in Australia.
Now I'm back in old Sydney, Australia.
And you're studying.
Yes.
You've been studying for a while.
I've been studying for a while. I took a gap year last year actually, because I just got way too stressed out. I think after the attempt, I called my school and I said, I don't know when you want these assignments, but it will not be in 2020, and that's just it. Yeah, I'm studying. Hopefully, I want to finish fast, but I just so busy, schedule, just a lot going on. But I do want to definitely finish my schooling.
And you're doing
psychological sciences and law, criminal law.
So what does the future hold with those 2 degrees in
mind?
mind?
I change the world, hopefully.
Yeah.
Can I go change the world with a Bachelor of Laws? I don't know. I'm a learner. I want to learn forever, and I just feel like even after I finish these 2 bachelors, I want to get a master's in something different. Like I don't know. I like to learn. I like to read a lot, and I just feel like, I don't know, maybe open law firms, I want to open psych centers, definitely.
Okay.
And psych wards because the one that I went to was I don't think a lot of people with mental health issues get treated, get placed in good places, like homey places.
Right. And were you studying psychological science before?
No.
This is something you added.
This is something that just came.
Okay.
After that, I was like, yo, psychology is very important. You need to, psychology is the mind, the brain can kill you.
Right.
I did not know that, okay? I didn't know that because there was never a conversation about mental health.
The brain can kill you.
Where I grew up.
Right.
No one, there was just so many things that I was learning in one go that we never talked about. Mental health, that's something that's not even the rug. That's underneath, whatever's underneath the rug in my community. We don't speak about mental health issues. So then I was like, let me understand it first. And then that's why I'm doing psychology.
I mean, how important though, and how wonderful to have that vision where you can turn that pain into helping other people.
Exactly, because I was just, everyone was baffled, and especially from my community, they were very confused. They were like, why would she do that? And I'm just like, I go through 4 months of day-to-day abuse from you guys, and you don't think at some point I will break.
Take a toll?
No.
And then you think I'm not going to talk about that?
No. Why would you do that?
Carrie Fisher says, take your broken heart and turn it into art. And
I turned to degrees.
You're turning into degrees, into education.
But I started painting too, so maybe art too, and I started writing a lot. I just realized 2020 taught me a lot about myself. I had to go inside and outside of myself. I had to go around people. I had to go through people. I had to reborn myself. I had to remind myself, like, why are you here? Why are you in this industry? Why are you passionate about this? Why are you not moving your foot off this, off of that? I had to relearn myself, and I just feel like a lot came from the mind first.
And what did you find out when you asked yourself those questions?
You got this, kid. You got this. Like, the world is at your feet. The world might be behind you sometimes, but it's always at your feet. One thing I learned about 2020 is Aweng sometimes doesn't need an answer. Aweng just needs to understand that there's questions.
Yeah.
Okay? And in due time, they will be answered. But for right now, there are questions.
I love that in your first show for Vetmont, Denmark, Gavasalia said to you when you arrived, oh, here's Miss Australia.
Yes. No, for real. Australia is like, for me, I'm very proud to be from Australia, to be honest. Because like, when you go overseas and you're talking to people and like, oh, you say from Australia, their eyes light up. Oh my God, kangaroos, koalas, have you ever seen them? And I'm sitting there like, yeah, a few times. But it's Australia, it's still a place. People are discovering themselves, people are finding themselves, people are working, people are crying some days, people are laughing some days. It's still, home to some people. Yeah. And for me, it's like to go overseas and somebody tell me, you're Miss Australia, you represent this light, this country, you are this person. It's quite interesting.
Aweng Chuol, thank you so much for joining me on One Plus One.
Thank you, my love. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I appreciate it.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Courtney.